American Golem, Beat Sheet, The Old World Adventures of a New World Mud Monster by Mark Loomer, based on the picture book, The Old World Adventures of a New World Mud Monster, Behrman House Publishers. Act 1, Book 1, Golem Awakens. 1 Prologue. We open in a forest covered by fresh snow, absolute silence. A frozen moment before terror, thunder of hooves. Cossacks gallop with torches, stones, sabers drawn and hate, converging on a solitary house in the woods. 2 Introduction to our hero, the kid. A few hours earlier, inside a schoolhouse in a nearby village, the kid stares out the window. Cast on his arm, snow falling. Comrade Davidovich, the schoolmaster, and an influential local official spews Soviet propaganda. He gets angry when he realizes that the kid is not taking notes. Davidovich knows the kid won't write on Shabbat, reminds him that religious beliefs are banned in Soviet Russia, and warns him that they will one day land the kid and his family in the Gulag. The kid hides his beliefs behind a quick joke. Davidovich smiles a mean smile, gives a quiz to the entire class, but exempts the kid and awards him an A to purposefully fuel the resentment of his classmates. The room falls silent. Davidovich glances toward the back row, where Ivanov sits. Ivanov, older and dangerous, has been groomed by Davidovich for this moment. After school, Ivanov leads the boys in a brutal ambush. A Pixar-style chase follows, sliding over frozen pavement, darting through laundry lines and wooden fences, across slick rooftops and muddy yards. The kid leaps, scrambles, crashes through snowdrifts. He runs like he's done this more than once before. Eventually, the city ends. He reaches the edge of the forest, tall, black, impenetrable. Ivanov catches up, panting but smiling. "You know there are wolves in there," he says, voice low. The kid doesn't flinch. "Maybe you shouldn't be following me then." Ivanov takes a step forward. "Maybe you should not be going in there yourself. Why don't you just come and take your beating like a man, and we call it even?" The kid holds his gaze. "Thanks for the offer, but I'd rather deal with wolves on 4 feet than wolves on 2, and he steps into the trees, vanishing into the darkness without looking back. Ivanov watches the forest swallow him. 3. The underground yeshiva. After an hour-long trek through the snow, the kid reaches a small house, tucked deep in the forest. He knocks the agreed-upon sequence, tap, pause, tap-tap, long tap. The door creaks open. Inside, the familiar melodies of Zmiros, Shabbos songs echo. He steps inside. It's a hidden yeshiva, a sanctuary in a dangerous world. At the front of the table sits Rabbi Yehuda, the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the yeshiva. But to the kid, he is simply Abba, his father. 4. The family Shabbat table. The family and the students are gathered around the Shabbat table. Dina, the bratty but sweet little sister, hums off-key and sneaks raisins from the kugel. Tuvia, the older brother, sits stiffly, always half listening for footsteps outside. He's hiding from the Red Army and the fate waiting for boys his age. Ima moves between kitchen and table with practiced ease. The yeshiva huddle together, hungry for food, for Torah, for rest. The kid slips off his fake cast and rubs his wrist. It's Suda Shlishit, the final Shabbat meal. For a while, just a little while, it feels like peace. But peace, here, is always short-lived. 5 Intrusion. The door is kicked open. Ivanov and schoolboys storm in. The kid is devastated as he understands he unknowingly led them here. Ivanov mocks the kid. He made him believe the wolves would deter him from following him. It's been years since anybody has seen a wolf in this forest. Ha ha ha, your cockiness will be your undoing. The town kids taunt the house's occupants. Polyakov devours the cholent. Good. So this is the stuff that fixes your bones every Monday. Ha ha ha. Ivanov takes note of the illegal place of worship and announces his intention to make a citizen's arrest. 6. Push back. Scuffle. There's a storm of invaders, but they're only kids. Abba and the older yeshiva boys manage to toss them out. But it's only a temporary respite. The yeshiva is compromised. Abba calmly directs a long-rehearsed escape plan. Packing begins. 7. The trap. Soon after, the kid opens the door. No, wait! A rock hits his head. Blood. Falls back inside. Slams the door shut. More rocks. Windows are broken. Torches tossed inside. Fire starts. The house is encircled and under siege. 8. An impossible choice. Ivanov warns, surrender without making a fuss, or I'll bring back the Cossacks and it will be far less peaceful. No, he replies, have it your way. To the other kids, don't let anybody out. I'm going to town to get the Cossacks. A deadly threat. Abba is solemn, the flicker of flames reflected in his eyes. Things are bad, but they'll get much worse when Ivanov brings back the Cossacks. The fire spreads. Abba falls silent, as if the impending doom has settled on him. That silence infects the room. Students and family glance at each other, anxious and afraid. Some pray, some whimper, some cry. 10 awakening ancient powers. Glass crashes, smoke thickens. Abba rises, calm and deliberate. He selects a heavy book with a strange mud-stained edge. There are forces best left asleep, but there is no other way. He pulls the book out. More stones smash windows. Fires spread. Outside, Polyakov returns with some of the bigger kids, carrying a heavy iron hammer they found in the barn. The kids are ready to break the front door. 11 Ivanov summons the Cossacks. Ivanov reaches the edge of town, breathless. He bolts to Davidovitch's house and blurts out a detailed account of what just happened. Davidovitch is delighted. His plan to turn the kids' schoolmates against him unexpectedly worked even better than he thought it would. He saddles his mule in seconds. Ivanov clutches on behind. They scurry to the Cossack garrison. Within minutes, sabers are drawn, rifles slung, orders barked. The Cossacks surge into the night. Davidovitch follows on his mule, with Ivanov on the back, holding on for dear life, but nothing would keep him from witnessing the kids' downfall. 12. Letting no one in. Back at the house, Abba commands, block the doors. Throw water on the fires. He pulls aside 2 trusted students. No one comes to the cellar. As they descend, the trapdoor shuts behind them. 13 thrown off their mule. As the Cossacks gallop through the forest, a branch slaps Davidovitch in the face. He and Ivanov tumble into the snow. Their shouts are drowned by the Cossacks' horses' hooves as they gallop away. 14. The eyes of the forest. Crimson dots appear in the trees, wolves. Surrounding them, Ivanov realizes the kid had been right all along. The pack lunges. 15. Making the golem. In the cellar, Abba digs into the mud floor. His assistants follow. The kid, disobeying orders, crawls into the kitchen and spies through a hole in the trapdoor. Abba molds the mud into a crude towering figure. He inscribes amped truth on its forehead, opens a smoke-filled book, some letters missing. He chants ancient words, no movement. He tries again, still nothing. 16 Golem rises, fires rage. The door bursts open. Cossacks storm in, weapons raised. One spots the kid and charges, saber drawn. Before the blade can fall, the trapdoor explodes open. A massive hand launches the attacker across the room. The golem rises, advances, slow, steady, unstoppable. No face, no emotion, no hesitation. Bullets pass through it like mist. Its thudding steps echo. Terror spreads among the Cossacks and the school kids. All the attackers run away for dear life. 17 salvage. Golem returns into the burning house, brings back the Torah, sacred books, valuables and a coffer with their savings. Abba inspects a coffer of coins. Let's go. Where to, Tar? Anywhere but here. Abba leads with confidence. 18. A new protector. The kid watches the golem as he topples trees to make them a pathway ahead. Would it have killed all the Cossacks if you hadn't stopped him? Yes. I'm happy the golem saved us, the kid says, but I feel a little guilty that he hurt people, even evil people, for us. Such contradictions are what the world is made of, Abba says. It says in the Torah that everything has 70 truths. The kid's eyes follow the golem disappearing ahead. 19 screams in the forest. Ivanov dangles from a low branch, clutching it with one trembling hand. Below him, wolves, circling, growling, eyes aglow. Nearby, Davidovitch's bloody clothes are scattered in the snow. Davidovitch himself is nowhere to be seen. But it's not the wolves that make Ivanov scream. It's the massive mud creature, now moving silently through the trees toward him. Eyes wide with terror, he shrieks, "Please, no, no!" 20. Undeserved mercy. The golem gently lifts Ivanov from the tree and places him on solid ground. It turns, placing its massive body between him and the circling wolves. Ivanov, still trembling, stares in disbelief. Before fleeing, he locks eyes with the kid. "I'll never understand you Jews," he mutters. "Why would you, after everything? I nearly got your whole family sent to the gulag, and you still saved me." He looks around, dazed, then stumbles toward the village, muttering to himself as he runs. 21. The escape plan. In the days that follow, the group moves cautiously through the forest, hidden, silent, alert. Cossack patrols pass nearby, but Abba is prepared. D. Davidovitch's Ark. 1. A tank is stopped, engine idling, in front of the scorched yeshiva. It carved a destructive path through the trees. Soldiers stand back nervously. A high-ranking Soviet officer kneels beside a massive footprint embedded in the snowy ground. He places his hand, minuscule in comparison, in it. His face hardens. Whatever happened here was not human. The officer walks to the back of the tank where Davidovitch's is propped up, bandaged head to toe, supported by Ivanov and a Cossack. Only his eyes are visible. The officer says angrily, "This was happening under your nose, and you let them get away." He unceremoniously removes his military decorations, one by one, from his ruined uniform. The last to go, his red star. Davidovitch's expression doesn't change, but his fists clench. 22 fugitives. A network of underground yeshivas offers safe routes and shelter. As time passes, the group begins to dissolve. One family slips away at dawn. 2 boys vanish at a crossroads. Each departure is quiet, heavy, unspoken. Tearful goodbyes are exchanged, but no promises made. They know the truth. They have shared something eternal, but will likely never see each other again on this side of life. 23. Where are we going? As they travel, the kid asks, "What about us, Ta? Where are we going to go?" Abba answers with a quiet mix of sorrow and hope. "You'll find out soon enough," he says, the trace of a smile flickering across his face. 24. Traveling with a golem. Now accompanied only by his family and the golem, Abba keeps the creature at a safe distance whenever they travel on open roads. But at night, or in remote wooded paths, when the kid and Dina grow tired, he lets them ride on the golem's shoulders. The children laugh and delight in their giant companion. "Don't get too fond of it, children," Abba warns. "It's just a tool, like a shovel or a wheelbarrow." The warning is lost on them. They are too caught up in the thrill of riding first class on a living fortress. 25. The road becomes crowded. As they press forward, the road fills with others, Jews, peasants, and city folk, fleeing with all they own. Abba's family blends in. They are no longer alone on this path. 26. The hidden golem. At a roadside inn, Abba trades gold coins for a cart and 2 horses. He hides the golem under a large tarp. When weary travelers ask to ride, he politely declines. The risk is too great. The golem must remain secret. 27. Approaching their destination. The road grows more crowded. The kid senses they are nearing their destination. Late the next afternoon, they crest a hill and see it, Odessa, sprawling along the coast. Abba confirms, "Welcome to Odessa." Ships drift in and out of the harbor. The kid begins to understand the plan. 28. Avoiding soldiers. Mounted soldiers appear on the road, moving against the flow of travelers. Abba checks the tarp, uneasy. The road slows to a halt. He climbs onto the cart with the kid and sees a checkpoint ahead. Soldiers inspecting papers and luggage. 29. Back into the woods. Without a word, Abba jumps down, grabs the reins, and leads the cart off the road and into the woods. "Why are we hiding?" the kid asks. "The golem can handle them." Abba answers, "There's no need for a fight when there are more peaceful and discreet ways to proceed." When the kid presses further, Abba simply says, "Let's go." 30. The farmhouse. They find an abandoned farmhouse near a barn. "We'll spend the night here," Abba says. "Tomorrow we will pass the checkpoint." The kid asks how they'll be able to do it with their golem, but knows he'll get no answer. 31. An unpleasant task. That night, all are asleep, except the kid. He watches as his father quietly rises, removes the tarp, and awakens the golem with a whisper. Curious, the kid follows at a distance, staying hidden. Abba leads the golem into the barn. 32. Removing the golem's aleph. From behind a beam, the kid watches. Abba finds a ladder, climbs it, and reaches the golem's forehead. As his thumb approaches the Hebrew word emet, truth, the kid gasps. "No, Ta!" He cries out, but it's too late. Abba erases the aleph. The word becomes met, death. The golem collapses into a pile of mud. Abba barely jumps free in time. 33. A protector without a soul. How could you kill him? The kid yells, tears rising. "He saved our lives." "It," his father corrects gently. "Ait." Abba kneels beside his son. "One cannot kill what was never alive," he explains. "The golem had no soul. It was just a tool. When we were desperate, I begged heaven to let me create it. Hashem showed mercy, but its task is complete. We must now move forward without it." 34. The scar. As his father speaks, the kid touches the spot where the stone struck his head. It's healing, but the mark left behind resembles an aleph, just like the one that had been on the golem's forehead. 35. Letting go. "The golem saved us, yes," says Abba, "but so did our gold and this cart, and we won't hesitate to part with them when the time comes." The kid nods and walks back with his father toward the sleeping family. Later, once his father is asleep, he quietly returns, kneels by the crumbled form, and gathers some of its mud into a small bag. Kol Mekimentakusi, Odessa. The next morning they enter the city. Once a thriving port, Odessa now brims with desperation. War, revolution, and poverty have made it a hub for refugees seeking freedom or escape. 37 Tickets to hope. Abba sells the cart and horses. At the docks, he bribes an agent and secures tickets for the family. For many others, the dream remains out of reach. Some are turned away for health reasons. Others can't afford the fare or the bribes. 38. Departure. As the ship pulls away from shore, the family watches their homeland fade into mist. They breathe thanks to the Almighty for protection, for survival, and for the hope of a better life in a distant, unknown land. 40. Atlantic crossing. The ship journey drags on for 2 grueling weeks. The family is lodged in the steerage section, cramped, foul-smelling, and filled with first-time sailors overcome with seasickness. The kid escapes above deck, clinging to the railing during a violent storm, preferring the danger of waves to the misery below. 41. The New World. The storm clears. The ship glides into New York Harbor under a piercingly blue winter sky. The Statue of Liberty looms ahead. Many weep out of emotion. She welcomes them to a new life of freedom and hope. 42. Ellis Island. They arrive at Ellis Island, only to face a series of exhaustive medical exams. The halls ring with sobs of families being separated or refused entry and deported back to where they came from. 43. New York. The family arrives in New York, foreign, crowded, and overwhelming. Languages mix like soup in the air. Steel towers replace pine trees. 44. Strange New World. They feel overwhelmed. Towering buildings rise on every side. Noise fills the streets. They walk across a massive iron bridge into a quieter, more modest neighborhood. Voices in dozens of languages spill from storefronts and echo all around the city. 45. Their new home. Abba consults a note with an address given to him by a Red Cross volunteer at Ellis Island. "We're here. They climb 4 steep flights. The apartment door is unlocked. A key dangles on a hook. The apartment smells of cabbage, mold, and sweat. Peeling linoleum, mismatched furniture, cracked windows patched with cardboard. A curtain sways over a corner pantry. Cockroaches scatter. The bedrooms hold iron beds, bare bulbs, and chipped paint. They regroup in the living room, eyes wide, breaths short. Gan Eden. Paradise, they exclaim all at once. 46 Shabbos in America. Their first Friday night in the New World arrives. The family gathers and softly sings Shalom Aleichem. There are no Cossacks here. We don't have to sing so low. Slowly, cautiously, their voices grow louder, welcoming the Sabbath angels with full hearts. 47. Unemployed in paradise. The joy is short-lived. Their gold supply runs low. I've seen several synagogues nearby, Abba says. Surely one of them needs a rabbi. Tuvia and the kid need a yeshiva. Dana needs a school. Ima and Dana go scouting. Abba sets off to find work. 48 Butcher Shop Yeshiva. A friendly butcher, originally from a nearby village back home, welcomes the boys into his backroom yeshiva. He offers Abba a job as his assistant. Grateful but resolute, the rabbi thanks him and declines. He is determined to find a rabbinic post. 49 The Goodbye Gabbai. Abba visits a nearby temple. A well-dressed Gabbai eyes him skeptically. We need someone relatable to our shop owner members. Presentable, fluent in English, persuasive with donors. The rabbi's old shtreimel, thick beard, and broken English don't make the cut. 50 No room at the bima. The rejection repeats. Synagogue after synagogue. Abba sits on a bench, looking heavenward. Hakadosh Baruch Hu, what do you want from me? He realizes, in America, there are as many types of Jews as there are Jews. The small immigrant shtables can't afford a rabbi, and the large, polished congregations don't want a scruffy one like him. He laughs at the irony of fleeing to a land of religious freedom, only to find no place to practice it. Yet, he does not despair. He has seen too many miracles. Hashem lent him the power to create a golem. Now, he is lending a lesson in humility, and for that too, he is grateful. 51 Humble Meat Pie. Friday afternoon. Their second American Shabbos approaches. Abba walks to the butcher shop to pick up his sons. The butcher smiles warmly. If you haven't found anything yet, he says. The offer still stands. Abba nods. This time, he accepts. D2 Davidovich's Ark 2. In a torn coat, his insignias removed, Davidovich trudges along a frozen exile road with other disgraced men. The land is bleak. Far in the distance, through the fog and bare trees, the sprawl of Odessa emerges. The port glimmers faintly in the grey light. Columns of smoke rise as dozens of ships drift in and out of the harbour. 52 new challenges. The Maverick Mitts, local Irish legends in the rough-and-tumble world of their neighbourhood street baseball, wear sewer. Lids mark home plate and parked cars double as outfield walls, sprawl across every stair of the front stoop in post-defeat gloom. Still in dirt-smudged uniforms from that morning's game. Butch, 12, the team captain, tries to comfort Connor, 9, sitting with his ankle freshly wrapped, grimacing. Each step is occupied, backs, elbows, cleats, leaving little room for passers-by to place a foot or make it through without stepping over or around them. Inside the building, the kid and Tuvia are heading out. From the lobby, the kid sees the baseball players through the glass-paneled front door blocking the passage to the street. 53. A fierce competition. Miri, 10, sharp-eyed and quick-tongued, bemoans how the ragtag Talians, the team they played that morning, are turning baseball into a street fight. One of their top players ran into Connor cleat first and sprained his ankle. Someday, someone's gonna really get hurt, Shorty, 8, mutters. Microbe, 6, fumes. They turned baseball into a war zone. 54. An old familiar fear. Upstairs, the kid and Tuvia get ready for yeshiva. But as the kid approaches the hallway landing and sees the stoop mob through the glass, he freezes. His hand rises to the scar on his forehead. I forgot something, he mutters. Tuvia offers to wait. The kid insists he go. He watches from the stairwell as Tuvia navigates the gauntlet. The kids barely notice him. Once alone, the kid retreats to a shadowy spot by the rusting mailboxes. He crouches, silent, waiting for the stoop to clear. 55, nowhere to hide. Just as he settles into his hiding spot, the janitor arrives with a cart of mops and buckets. A bald, towering figure with ritual scars etched into his cheeks. He blocks the path. "Hey, kid." "Get," he says, with a thick accent. The kid is trapped. Behind him, the janitor. Ahead, the stoop and the kids. He has no choice. He opens the front door. 56. All eyes. The door slams shut behind him, too loud, followed by a deafening silence. Every head turns. Unlike Tuvia, he's noticed. He calculates the open spaces like a checkerboard. With nervous precision, he hops forward, avoiding stepping on anyone. One careful step, then another. 57. The trap. He's almost made it, until Connor adjusts his bandaged foot with a slight twist and a smirk, purposefully placing it in the kid's path. The kid's foot grazes it. Ah. Connor wails in mock, theatrical agony. Pain. Atrocious, exquisite, unbearable pain. Butch and Miri join the charade. How could you? As if he hadn't suffered enough. Microbe cries. Laughter bubbles up and is hard to contain. They're all in on it. 58 flight. Panic hits. The kid drops everything, books, lunchbox, and leaps over the railing. He lands hard on his knee, but scrambles up and bolts down the street. The kids burst into laughter. "Hey, kid." Butch calls after him. "We were just messing with you." "He really ran," Miri says. "Hey, kid, come back. You forgot your stuff." 59. Aftermath. 10 blocks later, the kid slows down, gasping for air. His chest heaves. He's safe but humiliated. Then in another wave of dread, he left his things behind. Go back? Not a chance. 60 stumbling through the butcher shop. The butcher shop's copper bell rings out as the kid bursts through the door, flustered and late. He slips through the crowd of customers, bumping into a few and drawing irritated looks. Abba, mid-conversation at the register, stops short at the sight of his son, but before he can speak, the kid is gone. Weaving past the glass cases of meats and kugels, the chopping sounds at the deli, and the sizzling kitchen filled with the scent of soup and onions. He slips out the back door, onto a small patio with a bare tree, and hurries toward the modest building at the far end, home to the yeshiva. Inside, the voices of learning boys paired off as Chavruta's study partners grow louder. 61 late arrival. Inside, the sound is deafening. Tables are packed with pairs of boys reviewing Chumash, Chassidus, and Gemara. The kid spots Tuvia and takes his place across from his own Chavruta. Tuvia looks over, puzzled. 62 questions and excuses. What took you so long? Tuvia whispers. The kid mumbles a vague response. Tuvia notices the missing books and lunchbox. Didn't you go upstairs to get something? The kid scrambles to explain, I forgot what I wanted to get, and then I forgot what I didn't forget. Tuvia squints, unconvinced. 63, saved by the bell. Before Tuvia can press further, the rabbi's stern voice cuts in. No chatting during Seder, Rabbasai. The kid exhales, grateful for the interruption. Whatever happens next, he can let it go. The rhythm of learning pulls him in, and for a while at least, he doesn't have to think about the kids from the stoop or the walk home. 64, after class. Where were you? Why were you late? Where are your books? Why are you acting so strange since this morning? Tuvia grills the kid after school. The kid remains silent. Frustrated, Tuvia storms ahead, leaving his brother alone on the walk home. 65. A new ambush. A few blocks from the tenement, a voice calls out, That's what you're looking for. It's Butch, the leader of the Maverick Mitts, holding out the kid's books and lunchbox with mock courtesy. Another chase, but like in the old country, the kid is too fast. He disappears into the streets, bolts up 4 flights of stairs, and slams the door behind him. 66. A stern decision. Night falls. The kid knows he can't outrun them forever. He gloomily reflects on his life so far in the new world. Everybody around him seems happy and has quickly settled in their new surroundings. His siblings chase each other through the streets like they've always belonged, while he's always watching over his shoulder. It didn't even take him long to make new enemies. The city feels too fast, too noisy, too big. It's not just the feeling of isolation that dogs him, it's fear. He reaches for the bottom drawer of the old desk in his room and pulls out the thing he's been hiding, the lump of mud from the old country golem. It's dark and cracked and wrapped in brown paper. He then tiptoes into his father's study, up to the grand bookcase. There it is, a thick, ancient volume bound in flaking leather. He pulls it with reverence and care, like he's handling something that might bite. Inside, the instructions. How to make a golem. 67. Sculpting a golem. Nobody sees him leave. Nobody notices the small, hunched figure disappearing under the abandoned bridge on the muddy banks of the Hudson. He unfolds the brown paper. The old mud glistens, dark and ancient. To make the golem really big, bigger than anything the old country had ever seen, he scoops fresh, wet mud from the banks of the Hudson River and mixes it with the old country mud, kneading the two together with trembling hands. The mud is cold, thick, alive with worms and river's stench, but it holds. He opens the book and begins sculpting. Slowly, deliberately, he follows each step with reverence, fingers blackened to the wrists. His breath fogs the chilly air as he works, mumbling half-remembered incantations. A crude figure takes shape, feet, like stumps of a great tree, legs thick as lampposts, the torso, the shoulders, each arm as big as a fence post. He sculpts the head last. He steps back, shivering from effort and awe. Then, slowly, carefully, he writes 3 Hebrew letters across the brow. Aleph, Mem, Tav, Emet. Truth! The word pulses in the still air like a drumbeat. The golem stirs, 68 sneaking in on the kid. He's so focused, he doesn't hear the crunch of footsteps approaching. The maverick mitts. They surround him in the dark. The kid smirks. They have no idea that at this very moment, and in this very spot, he is making a golem to fend them off. They'll soon find out and won't feel so cocky, the kid thinks with glee. 69% rise of the golem. Butch sneers. What's so funny? As an answer, the golem rises behind him. Slowly, massive, deliberate. A hush falls over the kids. They hide behind each other, like a Matryoshka doll. Butch, the tallest, opens his mouth to scream, but before he can, Golem picks him up without an effort, and Miri, the next tallest, is suddenly up front. Butch thrashes, but it's useless. The kid sneers. No fun, huh? Maybe now you'll think twice before bullying people. The golem raises his massive fist, turning it this way and that, as if trying to calculate the best angle to strike, but hesitates. Maybe because he is new in the monster business, he lacks practice. Or maybe because even the meanest monster knows it's just plain wrong to hurt a kid. Seeing this, Butch regains hope that he will live to admire another sunrise over the Brooklyn Bridge. Bullying? Butch asks with exaggerated indignation. What do you call chasing people around with sticks and stones? You don't think I've seen enough of that where I come from? The kid replies. Miri steps forward. Okay, yeah. The prank went a little bit too far, she says, hands slightly raised. Sorry about that, but we were going to give your stuff back. We even wanted to ask if you'd join our baseball team, especially after we saw how fast you run. The kid is disarmed. Her voice and her smile hit something deep inside. He looks at her, startled, sneers fading, smiling back at her. He imagines a world of possibilities, a team, friends, laughter, someone saving him a spot on the bench. But before he can say anything, Microbe's tiny figure pops out from behind Miri. He scoffs, loud and bitter, yeah? Well, go play baseball with your golem. Just like that. It's over. The kid's smile vanishes. Miri says nothing. She just looks at him, maybe a flicker of regret, maybe not, and turns to leave with the rest. The kid lowers his head, ashamed. With a quiet nod, he signals the golem. The creature gently sets Butch down, then follows its creator into the shadows. 70. Shame. The kid is alone again, back in his world of mistrust and fear. More alone than he's ever been. They just wanted to play. He feels terrible, truly terrible. He built a golem to protect himself against bullies, and it turns out he's the one being the bully, unleashing a terrifying creature on a bunch of regular kids who only wanted to share their favorite game with him. He walks through the streets with the golem clomping behind him like a giant toddler in work boots. The kid doesn't stop until his lungs burn. He bends over, hands on his knees, staring down at the river that gave him the mud. "What have I done?" he whispers. He keeps walking until they reach an empty lot. Quiet. Hidden. Perfect. He stops and turns to the golem. "Poor creature," he says softly. "I made you for nothing. A golem with nobody to protect is useless. And a useless golem has to be destroyed." 71. No returns for golems. He reaches up to the golem's forehead, where the word Emet, truth, is written in sacred letters. If he erases the first letter, the word becomes Met. Death! The golem will turn back into a pile of river mud. But before he can do it, before his finger reaches the first letter, the golem steps back and bumps the kid with his giant arm. The kid stumbles, surprised. "Oops." "Sorry, boss," the golem says. The kid freezes. You can speak?" "Yup." "That's impossible. A golem can't speak." "Yeah, well, I'm not your typical off-the-boat, yes sir, no sir, old country golem boss." The kid blinks. "No? Nope. I'm new. Improved. Bigger. Better. I'm made with American mud." He stands tall and pounds his chest proudly. "I'm an American golem." The kid lets out a strangled sound. "Oh, oi." The golem smiles. "I meant awesome." The kid says, "Okay," he continues, backing away. "Well, nice chit-chatting with you and good luck with everything. It's getting late. I should be on my way now. Bye." He turns. "Hey," the golem says. "Not so fast, boss. You made me." He steps in front of him, blocking his path. "You find me something to do." The kid tries to push past him. "Let go of me." "Listen," the kid says, rubbing his forehead. "I'm truly sorry those boys turned out not to be the big, mean bullies I thought they were. I'm even more sorry I tried to erase you. That actually was not such a menschlich thing to do, but I have to. Leave now. I'm going to be late for dinner, or my bar mitzvah class, or lighting the menorah, or whatever, so good luck with everything. No hard feelings, huh? Look me up next time you're in the area. Not." He spins around and keeps walking, but the golem follows. "Why the heck are you still following me?" "You made me, boss. You find me something to do." The golem replies, annoyed. "Okay," the kid says, glancing over his shoulder. "This is getting kinda awkward now. I can't find you something to do, get it? I'm just a kid. I'm new here. I don't know how things work around these parts. Go to a social worker, a union rep, whatever, a rabbi. How can a social worker, a union rep, or a rabbi help me, boss? You made me. You're the most qualified person in the world to find me something to do. That's meshuggah. What can a golem do if he has nobody to protect? What's meshuggah, says the golem, is creating a living thing without giving it a purpose. You had a purpose, the kid snaps. You lost it. Tough luck. I had a hometown, and I lost that too. Life's unfair. Boo-hoo. Life is hard and then you die. Deal with it. Look at you. How do you want me to find a job for a big, clumsy, ugly mud monster? The golem just shrugs. That's your problem. Not mine. Quit following me. What if I can't find you something to do? Then I'll just keep following you until you do. For how long? What if it takes me a long time? Then it takes a long time. What if I never find anything? Then I'll follow you forever. What if? The kid's voice cracks, rising with exasperation. What if I'm an old man and I still haven't found anything? For a split second, an image flashes in his mind. He sees himself exactly as he is now. Same newsboy cap pulled low over his ears. Same frayed wool knickers. Same threadbare jacket with one sleeve, longer than the other, and his little payos curling forward like question marks. Except he also has a long white beard dragging behind him like a rug. He stooped, shuffling across the cobblestones of Delancey Street, muttering in a gravelly voice, still looking, still looking, still looking. And behind him, clomping patiently along with a sack of groceries, is the Golem, just as muddy, just as enormous, and still just as unemployed. The kid blinks the vision away and groans. Oi, Act 2, Book 2, Golem Unleashed. 72. The Golem meets the kid's father. Let's go see my Abba, the kid says. He's like this worldwide Golem specialist. He'll know how to get me. I mean us out of this pickle. The kid heads home. He walks briskly. Behind him, the Golem clomps along like a shadow. People stare. An old man playing sidewalk chess freezes mid-move, his hand hovering over the board. A toddler in a stroller stops gnawing on a bagel the size of his head. A horse cart driver drops his chopped liver sandwich, chopped liver side down. Then they all stare at something else. No one screams. No one runs. This is New York, after all. Novelty wears thin, and people have busy lives. The kid turns the corner onto his block and sees him. Abba, his father. He's walking towards the entrance of their building, halfway up the stoop, keys in hand. He looks up, sees his son, sees the thing behind him. He freezes. For a long beat, nobody says anything. Then Abba blinks, slowly, like maybe he's hoping this is some kind of optical illusion. What is that? The kid winces. I can explain. Abba walks toward them, voice climbing. Do you know what the neighbors are thinking right now? Do you have any idea what you've done? I didn't mean to. Do you even know what you're messing with? The kid opens his mouth, but before he can answer, the Golem clears his throat, like someone politely interrupting at a dinner party. Excuse me, Rabasai, the Golem says, raising one massive, muddy hand. Not to interrupt this lovely father-son moment, but it's a bit nippy out here, and people are indeed starting to gawk. Maybe we continue this lovely conversation inside. Abba stares up at the Golem, stunned, silent. Then, after a beat, he rubs his eyes, exhales through his nose, and mutters, "Where are my manners?" He straightens his shoulders and nods. "Forgive me. Please, please come in. You're our guest." 73. Matzo ball soup and revelations. The apartment smells of cabbage, garlic, and boiled chicken. Ima is too busy preparing dinner to gasp or panic when she sees the Golem. She simply looks up from the stove, takes in the three of them, and says, "Sit, sit. You're putting mud everywhere, and you look like you need something warm." She places 3 steaming bowls of soup on a tray. "I hope you like matzo ball soup," she says to the Golem. "I don't know," the Golem replies. "I've never had any. Actually, I've never had anything. I was born an hour ago. Mazel tov," Ima says, without missing a beat, though she isn't entirely sure that's the right thing to say to a newly born Golem. But it'll have to do. You can't exactly ask about the Brit, can you? She places a bowl in front of each of them. The Golem picks up his spoon and digs in. Slurp, slurp. But then he glances up and notices the other 2, frozen, bowls untouched, mouths slightly open, just staring at him. "Please, Rabosai. Slurp, slurp. Eat. It's going to get cold. And stop staring. It's not polite, and it's making me self-conscious." He takes a slow, deliberate sip. His entire muddy body lets out something between a sigh and a squelch. They sit in silence for a moment. Father, son, and freshly animated Golem. "I understand, slurp, slurp, how all this must come as a surprise," the Golem continues. "A talking Golem, oi gewalt, eating matzo ball soup on your kitchen table." He points his spoon at them like at Exhibit A. In the old country, Junior here would have created his Golem to scare off his bullies, and once the mission was complete, poof, just turn him back into a lump of mud. "Well, slurp, this is America, Rabosai, and things are just a little itty-bitty different here." Abba leans down towards the kid and discreetly asks, "What kind of mud did you use?" Tiny beads of sweat appear on the kid's forehead. "Back in the barn, in the old country," Abba continues, "I knew you had snuck some mud out. You know, after I erased our old Golem. I didn't say anything because I thought, maybe he wants a souvenir. But now, don't tell me you added..." American mud? If this was an animated show, at this point, the words would be emphasized by an echo chamber sound effect, mud, mud, mud. That will translate visually in the graphic novel form. The kid gives a tiny, guilty nod. A fully formed drip of sweat now rolls down the kid's temple. I know this must be a surprise, the golem says as he gently sets the spoon. But here, you don't just toss someone back into the river when you're done with them, even if they're made of mud and don't have a soul, and just saying. I have feelings. I have thoughts. I have dreams. Abba closes his eyes. The golem leans forward. I just want to find something I'm good at. Is that too much to ask? Oi, you made us the first Kevin golem in history. Who brings someone into this world, the golem continues, in a crazy world from the little I've seen of it so far, without giving them a goal? You made me find me a purpose. Abba whistles. Deep. Then, turning to the kid, he's actually making a lot of sense. What should we do, Abba? The kid asks, lips quivering. Sorry. Come again? Abba asks. It's actually interesting you would ask. I'm sorry to say, but this one is on you, my son. It's your responsibility. The kid sighs. Not to mention, I have no time right now. The shop is busier than ever. The golem turns to the kid. So, what now, boss? 74. An idea. The kid's ears perk up. Shop? Store? Work? Click. A light bulb goes off in his head. He straightens up in his chair, eyes wide. That's it. He whirls to face the golem. How about a job? Abba blinks. The golem blinks. Even Ima pauses mid-stir. Abba, the kid says, pointing a dramatic finger, didn't you say that in America a person's job gives them their meaning in life? Abba looks at his son with a mix of pride and deep concern. I might have said something like that. I also said not to eat kugel after sundown, so? The kid is already on a roll. You said that in America people are like, work gives you dignity, responsibility, purpose. Did I? I think I know where this is going. Abba replies, concerned. The golem leans forward. So, what are you saying, boss? I'm saying, the kid announces, arms spread wide, Hashem rules the world. That's what I'm saying. You're looking for a new butcher's apprentice, and my golem is looking for a job. My new butcher's apprentice? Abba said, dubious. It's like in the story of the Akedah Yitzchak, binding of Isaac. The kid continued, the ram came before, the solution before the problem. He's made of mud. He won't be squeamish about cutting meat. He won't faint at the sight of a liver. He's not afraid of bones. He doesn't complain. He has no union. Hey, the golem interrupts. Let's not rule out a union. Now, it's Abba's forehead that begins to collect beads of sweat. 75 Glattgate uppens. The next morning, the golem shows up 10 minutes early. Paper apron. Hairnet that does absolutely nothing. Giant butcher's hat perched jauntily on his muddy head. He is ready. The customers are not. Within minutes, the quiet line outside erupts into chaos, screams, pointing, and one woman fainting clean into a crate of herring. Inside, the golem is locked in mortal combat with a brisket, as if it insulted his mother. Meat flies, bones fly, labels fly. Pastrami slices whiz through the air like shuriken, slapping unsuspecting customers with deadly precision. One nearly takes out the mashgiach kashrut supervisor. The kid watches from the swinging back door, eyes wide. So, he says, as they slip out the side, that didn't go great. The golem wipes his hands on the sidewalk. Yeah. Bit of a rough cut. The kid pats his muddy arm. Next, they disappear into the streets of Brooklyn, the kid and his golem, back at searching for a purpose. And Abba's missing meat cleaver that nobody saw flying into a pickle barrel. 76, beam me down. They soon spot a help-wanted sign at a skyscraper construction site. The kid figures a golem sure won't be scared of heights. Unfortunately, the moment he steps onto the site, the other workers panic as the high beam they're sitting on for their lunch break begins to sway wildly, hundreds of feet in the air. The foreman promptly fires him. 77, your friendly neighborhood golem, back on the street once more. Suddenly, screams ring out. Help! Thief! It's coming from that alley, the kid says. Let's go. He dashes toward the alley, the golem close behind. A thief sprints out, clutching a purse just snatched from a terrified young woman. Golem, stop him. The kid shouts. The golem reaches out and pinches the thief by the back of his shirt, between thumb and forefinger. He lifts him so fast the poor guy keeps sprinting in the air for a moment before realizing that his feet and the ground are no longer connected. Then the golem shakes him like a lulav until the purse drops from his hands. That's it, the kid exclaims. This city needs a superhero. 78 not-so-superheroes. But as the golem lumbers toward the woman to return her purse, she screams even louder at his scary appearance. Hold your horses, old sport, booms a baritone voice from above. A flash of white and blue drops into the alley, muscles, chin, cape and all. Captain Swell, the woman gasps, blushing and clapping her hands. He flashes a grin so bright it practically blinds the kid. Thank you, he says smoothly, then turns to the golem. Say, old sport, this city's already packed with superheroes. It needs another one like I need another cleft chin. Just then, a gust of wind heralds the arrival of a caped figure, gliding stiffly to the ground. He wears faded maroon tights, orthopedic boots, and a utility belt loaded with ointments and hard candies. His emblem, a frowning mask over crossed arms. It's the Crimson Kvetch. You got that right, he grumbles, pointing a crooked finger at Captain Swell. Actually, according to union regulations, you can't operate in this sector either. Captain Swell rolls his eyes. Shocks. Not this one, and his Fabisana Punim again. Before anyone can respond, another figure swoops in, peddling a battered city bike retrofitted with garbage can lid wings. A pigeon perches on one shoulder and a pretzel dangles from the other hand. It's the Flatbush Flyer. Midtown's neutral turf, he shouts. I patrol here Tuesdays, Thursdays and every other Yom Tov. Don't make me call dispatch. Then, crashing down from a rooftop in a blur of deli napkins and bodega receipts, comes the tempest of Yonkers, leather trench coat flapping, hair like a lightning storm, and a portable espresso machine strapped to her hip. Oh, please, she snaps. This is my sector, been mine since the hot dog cart heist of 1896. The alley erupts in a superhero turf war, kvetching, bickering, and napkin map consultations. The kid and the golem exchange a look. While they argue, Captain Swell casually strolls to a nearby newsstand, snatches a comic book, and flips it open with dramatic flair. So, there's that, he says, gesturing vaguely toward the chaos, plus your whole mud gimmick. He makes a so-so motion with his hand. I'll bet you could take a doomsday ray or two, but that's not enough. He taps the comic's glossy page. Look, colorful outfits, flashy powers, fan clubs, excellent PR. And of course, a collection of cleft chins. That's what it takes to be a real superhero. 79 Golem, supervillain, a splash page moment. He smirks. Tell you what, I could use a new villain, and you're ugly enough, Nebach. What do you say, Mudman? The Clay Calamity? Knock over a few banks? Kidnap a damsel or two? You'd have to lose, of course. The golem looks to the kid, who's clenching his fists. My golem's no bad guy. The kid snaps. Then, a beat. Well, maybe just this once. He snaps his fingers. The golem grabs Captain Swell by the cape, twirls him overhead, and flings him into the dark waters of the Hudson River. So, that was that. 80. A big break. What was meant to happen, happened. After another hard collision with one of the ragtag Talians, Butch, the captain of the Maverick Mitt's leg is broken. The team is now short one player. They find the kid. You still got your mun, monster? Why? Because we want to win. Golem becomes their star slugger. He hits baseballs so far, they vanish into the horizon. They win, over and over. This is what the golem was made for. The kid too feels for the first time in his life like he can be himself, he can belong. He is free from the golem and free from fear. 81. Harder the fall. Then, disaster. A new ruling. Teams can only be composed of boys or girls. Mud monsters are considered by the League to be at an unfair advantage. The Mitts are forced to forfeit their wins. The Golem and the Kid are out. And just like that, it's over. The joy, the team, the place he thought they'd earned. The Kid walks away like a sleepwalker. He disappears. The Golem panics. 82 lost and destructive. The Golem searches. He storms through the streets. He's panicked, like a child who lost his mother in a department store. But this child is 3 stories high. Cars are overturned. Hydrants burst. Street lamps crumple like paper straws. The Kid walks down the street in the other direction, muttering, "I can't anymore." He's going to have to figure things out on his own. Police cars drive by, horns blaring. He looks up. Where could they be going? From a distance, the Kid starts seeing the chaos. Abba's warning back in the old country comes back to mind. A Golem left to his own devices becomes a fabulously destructive force, with no end to it. 83 biplanes attack. At a distance, biplanes buzz around the Woolworth building, Manhattan's tallest skyscraper. The Kid squints his eyes. A figure seems to be climbing its spire, like King Kong. Oh no. The Kid thinks, it can't be. The Kid breaks into a run. In the orange haze of the sun, a giant figure stands on top of the building. It's Golem, attempting to smash passing police biplanes while scanning the streets for the Kid. Annoyed, he grabs at a plane that comes too close. He turns it upside down and shakes out the pilot, who parachutes out. 84. A new foe? The Kid runs to the building. He's about to grab the door when suddenly, Special Agent Elliot Turner, 40s, a bright badge on his belt, stern and lawful, grabs him. "Do you know that mud monster, son?" The Kid looks at the man in shock. "What?" Agent Turner looks at the Kid. "Don't what me. All these other people are running away, and you're running toward the building. That's unusual. I have an eye for the unusual. I think you and that creature have met before." Agent Turner pulls handcuffs from his belt. But as he does, the pilot parachutes over them. In the fracas beneath the parachute, the Kid emerges and runs into the building. Agent Turner emerges with his hand cuffed to a very confused pilot. 85 running from the police. The Kid bursts through a rooftop hatch. Golem spots him and lights up. Just like that, the rage melts away. "Why did you leave me?" Golem asks. The Kid shakes his head. "We'll talk later. Right now, we've got a skadoodle." But before they can move, Agent Turner climbs up after them. He flashes his badge. "You're under arrest," he says to the Kid. Then, turning to Golem, "You too." Golem looks at the Kid, confused. The Kid steps forward, pleading. He can't go to jail. He's like a child. He doesn't know any better. Turner shrugs. Law's the law. Mud monsters can't just go scrambling around New York without permits and such. As he reaches for his cuffs, Golem scoops up the Kid, plops him on his shoulders, and leaps from the rooftop. The Kid screams all the way down. Turner rushes to the parapet. He spots them below, Golem swinging from building to building like a muddy Tarzan. "You can run, but you can't hide from the law." He shouts. Golem barrels down the length of the Brooklyn Bridge, the Kid clutching his neck, howling with a mix of terror and joy. If this were a Pixar movie, the soundtrack for this scene would be Surfing USA by the Beach Boys. Otantase Extra. Extra. Mystery Mudman Mayhem. The image, now frozen, is a grainy black and white picture on the front page of a newspaper, waved by a newsboy on a busy Brooklyn corner. Extra, extra. Read all about it. Mystery Mudman Mayhem in the meatpacking district. Monster or hoax? Extra, extra. Read all about it. 87 chaos over the city. Abba stands peering at the chaos unfolding out the window. Sirens wailing, smoke curling into the sky. He squints. What has he done? Ima, calm as ever, pulls a tray of fresh challah from the oven. The golden loaves glisten in the warm kitchen light. "Give our boyshelik a break," she says, placing the tray on the counter. "He's just trying to adapt. Like the rest of us." 88, farewell. There's a knock at the kitchen window, 4 stories up. Ima wipes her hands on her apron and walks over, peering through the curtain. It's the Kid. He's floating outside, as if he was in levitation, coat ruffling in the breeze. He gives a small wave. "Hi, Ema," he says. She frowns, annoyed. What happened to coming in through the door? Then we shift, outside, across the alley. From a neighbor's rooftop view. The kid isn't floating. He's perched on the massive mud hand of the golem, who lifts him like a human elevator. "Sorry, Ema." The kid says, "Anyway, I have to go away for a bit." Abba appears beside her. She hands the kid 2 warm challahs wrapped in a towel and a small bottle of grape juice. "For Shabbos," she says, pressing them into his arms. Abba hands him a worn-out siddur. They hug across the frame, awkward, tight, and teary. Then, the golem begins to lower him down. Ema leans out the window, voice echoing down the street. "You better not come back with crumbs and sand in your pockets." 89 along the tracks. The kid and the golem walk along the train tracks, the city shrinking behind them, distant fires still flickering on the horizon. The kid pulls Abba's old siddur out of his pocket and reads Thetefilat Haderek, Traveler's Prayer. "May it be your will, God, our God, and the God of our fathers, that you should lead us in peace, and direct our steps in peace, and guide us in peace, and support us in peace, and cause us to reach our destination in life, joy and peace, and return us in peace." Hours later, under the cover of darkness, they come upon a shanty town nestled beside the rails, tarp roofs, scrap wood chimneys, and the quiet murmur of lives lived between trains. The kid nods. This is where they'll stop for the night. 90 Shabbos in a shanty town. They now sit by a small fire in a makeshift camp, the golem standing protectively behind the kid. A few hobos huddle nearby. Flea 30s, covered in grime and surrounded by a cloud of fleas, eyes the golem warily. He looks down at his bottle, shakes his head, and pours it out. "I'm Flea." "That's fish." He nods to a pale, silent man, and Kingsley Waldorf III, gesturing to a once fancy gentleman in a battered suit. The kid smiles. "It's Shabbos. Care to join?" They nod. The kid begins singing softly, "Shalom Aleichem." Later, the kid curls up beside the flames and drifts off to sleep. The golem stays watchful, still as stone. D3 Davidovich's Ark 3. A thick fog rolls over New York Harbor as a rusted cargo ship docks with a groan. Ivanov steps off, boots mismatched, coat riding short at the wrists. At the end of the pier, beneath a flickering lamp, a black limousine waits. Igor, a stone-faced chauffeur, opens the door without a word. Inside, Davidovich. Reclining in velvet, his scars hidden behind expensive dark glasses and a high leather collar. Ivanov slides in beside him. "Looks like America's been good to you, comrade teacher." "Da. Who said opportunity is only for nice guys in America?" Davidovich laughs. Ivanov, following his cue, also laughs, not noticing that Davidovich has already stopped. As the camera slowly zooms in on Davidovich's eyes, a quick visual montage begins, sharp and wordless, his arrival and rise in the new world. Among droves of exiles with hollow eyes and torn coats, Davidovich descends from a rusted ship's gangplank, a ghost among ghosts. In a Lower East Side flop house, he lies awake on a creaking cot as rats skitter across the floor. He blinks slowly at the ceiling, unable to sleep. He sweeps the floor of a kosher deli, glancing coldly at the register. When no one is looking, he lifts the drawer and pockets the bills beneath. Later, selling hooch on a folding table, he nods toward a rival vendor's stall. An assistant in a torn Russian uniform limps over and sets it on fire. Davidovich ends the day with a wad of bills. That same wad is now on the floor of a smoky backroom, thick with vodka fumes and cigarette ash. Davidovich rakes in a huge pile of crumpled dollars and rubles after winning another round of Kosti, the Russian game of dice played with bones. The dice clatter under the hungry stares of low-level mobsters, some still in torn Soviet uniforms, like ghosts who never made it home. Later, dressed in tailored black, Davidovich peels bills from a thick roll and slips them to a cop on the night shift. The cop nods and looks the other way as Davidovich's crew smashes the glass of a jewelry store across the street. Davidovich walks into a private club, flanked by two bruisers. Inside, The same cop, now on his payroll, hands him a crumpled poster. Back in the limo, Davidovich turns to Ivanov with a gaze that freezes his blood. Ivanov stops laughing instantly. "I didn't bring you all the way from the old country to chit-chat. Have a look at this." He hands Ivanov a wrinkled wanted poster featuring the picture of a muddy boy and another of a hulking clay-faced creature. Ivanov's eyes widen. He's here? 92, train hopping. After Shabbos, the kid and the Golem's new companions introduce them to the secret art of train hopping, taught in a fast-paced Pixar-style montage. A scene where Flea teaches that when you jump off a moving train, you have to roll is shot, like if they were paratroopers learning how to jump out of a plane. As a freight train begins to rumble out of the yard, Flea and the others sprint alongside it and leap aboard with practiced ease. The kid tries to copy them, but the train's moving faster than expected. Without hesitation, the Golem scoops him up and hurls him into an open boxcar like a sack of potatoes. The kid lands with a grunt. Then the Golem leaps in after him with a thunderous thud. The entire train jolts. From a nearby rail tower, a lone railway official spots them boarding. He reaches for the phone. 93 hot on their trail. Agent Turner walks along the tracks with the railway official. Agent Turner looks at a giant footprint covered in mud. He bends down, swipes a finger in the track, tastes it. "Golem," he says. The official shakes his head in disgust. A photographer snaps a shot of the footprint. "Where does this go?" he asks. The manager says it's going through Pittsburgh, with stops in Wilmerding and then down south. Agent Turner's eyes narrow. 94 is extra. Extra. Mystery Mudman still at large. On a busy Brooklyn corner, a newsboy waves the evening paper. The front page displays a grainy photo of Inspector Turner kneeling next to the Golem's giant footprint. The newsboy shouts, "Extra, extra, read all about it. Mystery Mudman still at large. Extra, extra, read all about it. 95 big country. Fish cooks up a foul-smelling stew over a small tin stove." Mr. Waldorf leans back against a crate and launches into another tale from his former life as a millionaire. Imported cigars, satin sheets, a bath drawn by servants named after Shakespearean characters. The kid gazes out the open boxcar door. The landscape blurs past, rolling fields, distant mountains, tiny towns flickering like fireflies in the dusk. "It's so big," he murmurs. "Where are we even going?" Waldorf straightens his collar with theatrical elegance. "Come with us to Wilmerding," he says grandly. "Home to my good friends the Westinghouses. They have factories down there, always looking for workers. I'm sure your Golem will find a job." Fish nods, smiling gently. "Don't worry, kid. You'll find what you're looking for. Remember, the road to success is paved with failure." Waldorf waves a hand. "I can attest to that. And as an entrepreneur, I can also say the road to failure is paved with failure too." The words land hard. Fish shoots Waldorf a sharp look. "That didn't help." Waldorf shrugs, embarrassed. "Sorry. I'm sure we'll find something in Wilmerding." The kid's eyes drift back to the land, rolling by in silence, unsure if this train is helping him chase something, or mostly run from something else. Both, undoubtedly. 96 job line in Wilmerding. The boxcar jerks. The landscape slows. Trees give way to coal-streaked rooftops, smokestacks and sagging fences. A rusted sign flashes by, Wilmerding. The train comes to a halt beside a soot-covered platform. They hop off the train in Wilmerding, soot-streaked but eager. Before long, they're standing in a work line outside a factory. A voice calls out from the gate, "We're done hiring for the day." The line groans. 97 UN unexpected offer. Just then, two sharply dressed men saunter over, slick hair, dark wool coats, shiny shoes, and matching pinstripe suits that scream power and trouble. One of them sizes up the Golem. "Hey, big guy. Re-interested in a little work? Protection?" The kid's face lights up. "That's exactly what my Golem was created for. You're hired." The kid turns back to Flea, Fish, and Kingsley Waldorf III. "Thanks for everything," he says. Kingsley bows with a flourish. Should you require future references, I am, unfortunately, available. The kid smirks. After emotional hugs goodbye, he and the golem follow the men down a narrow alley. 98% easy money. They arrive at a loading area where a crew is unloading crates of bootleg hooch. The golem eyes the stack. Should I carry them? I could do it all in one trip. The men laugh. No, that's not your job. Just stand there and make sure no one touches the goods. You're here for protection. The golem nods, plants his feet, and stands still as stone. When the job's done, they hand the kid a thick wad of dirty cash. He stares at it. We get paid this much for doing nothing. 99 protection, do's and don'ts. One of the men claps him on the back. Now for a more specialized kind of protection. They head to a corner store. Inside, an old shopkeeper stands behind the counter, nervously wringing his hands. We're here for our protection money, one of the men says. You got it? The kid and the golem look at each other, startled. I need more time. The shopkeeper pleads. Business has been slow, and my grandson's been sick. The kid glances around. The store is empty. Who exactly does the golem need to protect him from? He asks. In lieu of an answer, one of the men knocks a full shelf of soda bottles to the ground. Glass shatters. Fizzy syrup explodes across the floor. The old man flinches, shielding himself with shaking hands. The kid freezes. The lead man turns to the golem with a smirk. Watch and learn. Next time, use the one doing this stuff. 100% offering protection from protection. The kid looks at the golem. You don't need me to tell you anymore, do you? The golem looks down at the broken glass, at the frightened old man, at the boy hiding behind the counter. Then, wham! With a single swing, the golem scoops up both men like rag dolls. The double doors burst open with a thunderous crash as he hurls them through them. The two men sail across the street and slam into a brick wall, crumpling to the ground in a heap. The kid steps outside, crosses the street slowly. He stands over them. The next time you bother that family, he says, calm but firm, my golem won't just give you a small itty-bitty push like that. He tosses the dirty bills at them, then he turns and walks back toward the golem stands, silent and ready. 101 enemies getting closer. A low rumble breaks the evening calm. Headlights pierce the dusk. 3 black cars roll in. Men in black coats step out. The final car door opens. Davidovich steps out. His cane taps the ground. He pauses and lifts his head, sniffing the air like a wolf tracking blood. They were here, he growls. Yes, nods Ivanov, already at his side. Our men are getting patched up. Davidovich's eyes narrow. So, let's hear what they have to say. 102 terrified terrorizers. Inside a seedy motel room, 2 bruised and battered mobsters sit hunched on the edge of their beds, shivering. One clutches a raw steak to his black eye. The other breathes heavily, his ribs taped in gauze. The door creaks open. Davidovich enters with Ivanov and a half-dozen silent enforcers. The mobsters flinch. They start talking fast, nearly in tears. It wasn't our fault, boss, I swear. It didn't even speak, it just looked at us. And then this thing, this monster, picks us up like feathers and throws us like we were garbage. The one with the broken ribs chimes in, his voice cracking. I've done collections my entire life, seen guys go nuts, pull knives, baseball bats, but this wasn't normal, boss. That thing, it was like something out of a nightmare. 103, the golem laughs. The kid rides high on the golem's shoulders, legs dangling, arms resting across the lumpy crown of his head. It's dark now. They're walking down a narrow dirt road between 2 rows of towering cornfields, the stalks blocking out everything but the moon. It was probably a good idea not to collect dust back there, the kid says, and skip town before those guys' buddies showed up. Suddenly the kid lets out a sharp laugh. The golem glances up, intrigued. All good, boss? Did you see their faces when they went airborne? The kid asks. The golem starts to shake. At first it's just a twitch, then a full-body tremor that ripples through him in odd jerky pulses. Hey, the kid says, almost losing his balance. Overtaken by the golem's shakies, The kid's voice stutters with every jolt. What? What's happening? And then it dawns on him. The golem is laughing. The realization, combined with the shakies and the overall absurdity of their situation, makes the kid laugh even harder. He grabs onto the golem's head for balance. Look at us. Left the old country to stop running, and what do? I make a go, golem. And now we're fugitives, destroying stuff, knocking people out of doorways, scaring the living daylights out of everybody, punching airplanes out of the sky. We're like a traveling natural disaster. He wipes his eyes. Note to self, next time I've got a beef with a potential bully, maybe just write a strongly worded letter. This makes the kid laugh harder, while the golem's shakies are now a 10 on the Richter scale. 104 ambush. Suddenly, headlights slicing through the night. An engine hums low, then cuts. Car doors creak open. The golem and the kid leap to opposite sides of the road, crashing into the corn. The tall stalks swallow them whole. Silence. Then, footsteps. Low voices. Russian. A flashlight snaps on. Through a gap in the stalks, the kid sees them, 3 black cars, parked across the road. Boots crunch closer. A wide beam cuts through the corn beside him, then swings away. He exhales, relieved, until a hand clamps around his collar and yanks him into the open. He twists, kicks, but the grip is iron, one of Ivanov and Davidovich's goons. Then Ivanov steps into view, towering, pale hate-filled eyes gleaming under his black hat. "You," the kid breathes. From the shadows, another menacing figure. Davidovich. No, this can't be real," the kid mutters. "You're here too?" His stomach turns. This is a nightmare. Across the road, the corn shakes. The golem rises. Massive, silent, fists clenched. The goon yanks the kid into a headlock, presses a knife to his neck. "Tell him to stop," the man growls. "Or you bleed." The kid's voice cracks. "Golem, stop, don't move." The golem freezes. Suddenly, sirens. Red and blue lights streak the night sky. Tires screech. Car doors open. A bullhorn barks. It's Turner. Federal agents, hands where we can see 'em. Tommy guns blaze, spitting fire in short bursts. Muzzle flashes strobe the cornfield. Davidovich's men scatter. Under the cover of gunfire, the kid is hurled into one of the black cars. Ivanov steps in, followed by Davidovich. He leans close to the kid, voice low but sharp. "If your monster wants to see you alive again," he says, "he'll come to Red Hook Warehouse on Pier 41 in Brooklyn in a week at midnight." The kid stares at him, eyes wide. Nods. He twists toward the golem. "Did you hear that? Red Hook Warehouse on Pier 41 in Brooklyn. But until then, listen to me, don't panic, don't destroy anything. Abba always says that Hashem never sends you a test you can't handle. You can do this. I have faith in you." The door slams. Tires spin. The car takes off while the others block their escape. 105 kidnappers escape. After the car with the kidnapped kid disappears, the golem turns to the remaining mobsters. 106 Golem confronts the mobsters. He's about to smash their cars, but remembers the kid's command not to cause more destruction. Instead, he plucks the mobsters out of their vehicles and drops them before a line of stunned agents. 107 Cliffhanger. Agent Turner steps forward and thanks him, but says that he is still obligated to arrest him. The creature stands silently for a moment, then simply turns and begins to walk away without a word. One of Agent Turner's officers raises his Tommy gun, but Turner lowers the weapon. Watching the golem's back recede into the distance, he whispers, "Go find him." Act 2 closes with the golem, striding into the unknown, separated from the kid, whose life hangs in the balance. Act 3, Book 3, Rise of the American Golem, 108, Journey through America. Massive feet trudge along country roads, cross open fields, and sink into the soft earth of deep forests, mile after mile. Days blur into nights, and nights into days, as they carry the golem like a shadow through the sleepy countryside. 109 Circle of Fear. A distant scream cuts through the night. The golem halts, head tilting toward the sound. Cresting the next ridge, he sees a small farm, where men in oversized white hoods circle on spindly horses, whooping and jeering. In front of the farmhouse stands the Carters, a family of African-American farmers. Ezra and Lottie Carter shield their children, Isaiah and little Ruthie, frozen in fear as the riders close in. The golem steps into the yard, his enormous shadow sliding over the riders. 110 like in the old country, cross-cut with Cossacks circling the hidden yeshiva and the clan circling the farmhouse. 111 spinning fury. The golem plants one massive foot down. A single stomp sends the horses and their riders shooting into the air like popcorn kernels. He shifts his stance, raises one massive leg, and begins to spin like a colossal top. His enormous arms extend outward, and in a sweeping arc, he knocks the riders from their saddles, flinging them into the mud and haystacks. The chief clansman, now lying flat on his back, stares up at the towering golem, trembling. He stammers, we swear. We'll never do this again." The yard falls quiet. Little Ruthie inches forward and wraps her hand around the golem's pinky, then twirls her other finger in the air as a silent request. The golem spins again, now playfully. Isaiah and Ruthie dangle from his fingers, laughing and squealing like they're riding a nighttime carousel. Ezra and Lottie watch, wide-eyed and laughing. The next morning, a newspaper flutters into frame. Mysterious mud monster mops up midnight mob. Farm family turns the tables. The front page photo shows Lottie on the porch, calmly sewing up the holes in the clansmen's hoods while the children giggle nearby. Her quote in the caption reads, "No reason to let these perfectly good sheets go to waste." 112 growing legend. The golem's massive feet once again trudge along highways and byways. The screen cuts back and forth between each heavy step, taking him closer to the kid, and a succession of fluttering newspapers, telling the tale of his quiet impact on people across America. Headline: Mysterious Mudman Fixes Town Clock Overnight. "'Twas 'bout time," ticked-off mayor declares. Visual: a frowning small-town mayor with his fists in his hips squints upward at a back-to-the-future-style clock tower. A bent weather vane dangles from the roof, and a giant muddy handprint on the tower wall silently reveals the visit of a repairman of unusual size. Headline: Mysterious Mud Monster Helps 98-year-old Win Quilting Contest. Visual: a delighted 98-year-old woman beams proudly in the photo, her winning quilt stretched wide by two massive muddy hands. The mysterious figure himself is hidden behind the quilt. Headline: Lost Cow Returns at Dawn. Farmer moved to tears. Visual: the front page shows a tearful farmer hugging his cow. Both stand in the center of a single massive muddy footprint. Step by step, the golem leaves awe and whispered stories in his wake, his legend spreading quietly across the fabric of America. 113 back in New York. And then, after a bend in the road, the New York skyline finally emerges through the haze. 114 the Bob's Warehouse. The warehouse looms over a neighborhood of tenement houses, storefronts, workshops and schools, like a medieval fortress towering above a peasant village. You won't find it on any city map, but it's well known to anyone doing business with the underworld. Contraband arrives under cover of fog, liquor, weapons, explosives, even cholent crockpots and Shabbos candlesticks. Most of it comes in at night, by boat, and is unloaded onto a dock beside a massive fuel tank, barely shielded from view by rusted fencing and stacked shipping crates. Inside hidden compartments, code words and false walls keep law enforcement at bay. Most workers are just dock hands and loaders, poor men from the neighborhood with many mouths to feed, who don't ask questions. Here, looking the other way, is a matter of survival. 115 the innocent and the corrupt. Just across the street, barely a stone's throw from the loading bay, stands a small cheddar. Inside, boys sway over worn gemaras, their voices rising in sing-song davening. In this neighborhood, the sacred, the corrupt, the innocent and the mundane cohabit almost seamlessly within the same 10 blocks, each world brushing against the others but rarely colliding. Until tonight, 116 the golem arrives. As midnight approaches, the golem emerges from the fog, its heavy footfalls echoing off the damp brick. It's halfway across the street when a small object arcs out of the darkness and lands at its feet with a muffled thud. The kid's cap. The golem halts. From the shadows, a figure emerges. Ivanov. The golem gazes at him, menacingly. "Easy, big guy," Ivanov says, hands raised nervously. "I'm just a messenger." But the golem lurches forward. In a flash, it grabs Ivanov with terrifying speed, lifting him effortlessly like a rag doll. "Hey, you want to see your master alive, don't you?" Ivanov stammers, squirming in its grip. "My boss, Davidovich, he's got him. On that rooftop. Over there." He points several blocks away, arm trembling. The golem pauses, then, without a sound, it hurls Ivanov into a stack of garbage-filled crates. He lands in a heap with a crunch of splintered wood and metal as the golem lumbers forward. The warehouse-lined street stretches into the mist, 117 prisoner over the abyss. High above, Davidovich waits. His silhouette cuts sharp against the haze, flanked by a half-circle of goons. At the edge of the roof, a narrow wooden plank juts out into empty air like a pirate's gangplank. And on that plank sits the kid, bound to a chair, teetering over the 10-story drop to the street below, his yarmulke askew, revealing the faint aleph-shaped scar etched on his forehead. "This board makes me a tad nervous," Davidovich says with mock concern, tapping it with the toe of his boot, making it creak ominously. "It's so old. One sneeze and splat. That'd be such a shame." The kid glares. "The only shame is, if I fell, I wouldn't get to see my golem squash you like an overripe tomato." Davidovich laughs and eyes the kid with hatred mixed with something like admiration. "You haven't changed one bit since the old country, comrade student," he says with a crooked smile. "Still the same sharp-tongued, know-it-all little pest. 118. The golem climbs on the rooftop. In the meanwhile, the golem reaches the base of the building and begins to climb. On the rooftop, the men hear the heavy scrape of mud-caked hands on brick, the dull thud of something massive scaling the wall. The goons instinctively edge away from the ledge. Moments later, the golem hauls itself over the edge. The men recoil further. It towers above them like a thundercloud with fists. Davidovich watches it rise and smiles coldly. The prodigal monster has returned. The golem steps forward, advancing towards him. Calmly, Davidovich plants a boot on the end of the plank. It creaks and shakes. "One more step," he says, "and your little friend turns into sidewalk art." "Golem, freeze." The kid shouts. The golem stops mid-stride. Instantly. No breath, no twitch, just total stillness, like a machine powered down. One of the goons creeps forward and pokes it with a finger. Nothing. No reaction. Not even a blink. Davidovich grins, cloying with a mock-sincere expression. "Impressive. I really like your work." He laughs. "You know, we're not so different, you and I." Ouch. The kid grimaces. "That one actually hurt my feelings, comrade teacher." Davidovich's smile suddenly cracks. Rage spills out in a tirade. "Because of you, I was stripped of every honor, my titles, teaching position, my respect, all gone in an instant. They called me a fool, even a traitor. I was forced out of my own country like a dog, humiliated. I landed in this grotesque cesspool of a city with nothing but the clothes on my back. I rotted in boarding houses. I shoveled garbage like a filthy animal, just to eat." His eyes blaze, but his tone softens. "And yet, here in America, I reinvented myself, piece by bloody piece. The power I hold now, I owe that to you too. Without your causing my downfall, I'd never have shed the old skin. So in a way, I should thank you." 119 Davidovich hijacks the golem. He straightens, smirking bitterly. "But I won't. Everywhere I turn, I find Jews in my way. Now it's the mob. That warehouse below? It's their stronghold, stuffed with stolen goods, contraband, hooch, and everything rotten they've built their empire on. I need your golem to wipe it clean for me, so I can take over this neighborhood, once and for all." Davidovich snarls. "You're going to order your golem to destroy this warehouse." The kid clenches his jaw. "No, This is not what I made him for. Davidovich violently shoves the plank. The kid's chair tips dangerously. What's the hold-up? It's full of liquor, smuggled goods and armed men. Isn't your golem supposed to be a protector? Doesn't it exist to rid the world of filth? Well, there's plenty of it down there. The kid stays silent. 120 hostages. Davidovich chuckles darkly. Maybe I didn't make myself clear enough. He snaps his fingers. His goons drag up several prisoners, hoods over their heads. They're shoved roughly toward the edge. The hoods come off. Miri, Butch and the kid's old teammates from the Maverick mitts, bruised, gagged, terrified. Davidovich's finger darts toward Miri. Her, he says. A goon yanks her to the ledge and holds her dangling above the void. I'm sure you don't want to see her take a dive, Davidovich says, smiling razor sharp. So, let's try this again. He raises a hand in mock reassurance. Tell your golem no one needs to get hurt. I just want that warehouse and its loot turned to ashes. The kid swallows hard, nods slightly. He turns to the golem. Do it, golem. Destroy the warehouse, just the warehouse, but make sure no one is harmed. 121 golem unleashed. The golem's body shifts, slowly at first, then pivots toward the edge of the roof. It steps forward, heavy, deliberate, and then plunges, landing hard on the street below. It springs back onto its feet and marches toward the warehouse. A sentry at the entrance opens fire. The golem lunges, knocks the rifle from his hands, and tosses him into a pile of burlap sacks stacked by the wall. The man hits with a grunt. Inside, another guard grabs the bell rope and rings it frantically. Gunmen open fire from the catwalks. Crates fly. Barrels smash into walls and support beams. The golem charges forward, grabs a collapsing shelving unit with one arm, and catches two of the falling men in his massive palm. He sets them down gently, brushes them off, and releases them. The men stare, stunned, then bolt through a breach in the outer wall, ducking past rubble and smoke. They spill out into the street, where a crowd has started to gather, drawn by the explosions and fires. The onlookers stand frozen, staring into the wreckage. 122 Agent Turner arrives. Agent Turner pushes through to the front, badge flashing in the chaos. He gazes, stunned, at the impossible shape moving behind the flames. He watches as the golem turns, methodical, unstoppable. His jaw tightens as he once more has to reconcile with what he's seeing. A destructive monster made of mud, tearing everything apart with its bare hands, yet showing discernment and mercy. 123 The warehouse is under attack. The first explosion tears through the far end of the warehouse. Then another. The roof sags. A skylight shatters inward. A second-story office collapses onto the floor. The golem storms back outside, grabs 2 powder kegs and hurls them into the fire. A massive blast follows. Windows blow out. Walls collapse. Fire shoots from the roofline. The warehouse folds in on itself and comes down in a thunderous heap. Smoke floods the street. Some of Davidovich's men take cover behind parked cars, Tommy guns ready to pick out the Jewish gangsters stumbling out of the wreckage. The golem charges into the middle, planting itself between them like a wall, absorbing the bullets from both sides. Across the street, families pour from the tenements. A burning timber crashes onto a wooden shack. The golem stomps it out. A scream pierces the air. He leaps, punches through a brick wall, and emerges cradling a child. Turner watches, stunned. The golem is destroying the warehouse, but sparing lives. Then it turns from the blaze and lumbers down the block. Staying in the shadows, Agent Turner ducks behind delivery trucks and lampposts, trailing the golem. The creature reaches the building and climbs. Hand over hand, it hauls itself up the cracked facade and vanishes over the rooftop. He slips inside, bound up the rusted stairs 2 at a time. At the top, he eases the door open just a crack. Smoke rolls past him. He presses flat to the bricks and peers out. 124. A new mission for the golem. The golem stands on the roof. Davidovich claps, slow, sarcastic. Well done, he sneers. A masterpiece. Your pet's got real flair. The kid, strains against his ropes. His voice is hoarse but sharp. You got what you wanted. Let us go now. Davidovich steps closer to the board. Not yet. He hasn't yet finished the mission you gave him. The loading dock. Flatten it. The kid's eyes go wide. No, there's a fuel tank, size of a school bus. It'll blow half the block. Davidovich smiles. Not smug. Just evil. Exactly. Tell him to stop. Tell your golem not to do it, Miri shouts. Forget about us. The kid is frozen, faced by the enormity of the horrible dilemma he is faced with. Hesitates. Why? He mutters. You've already won. The warehouse is gone. Davidovich crouches. Winning isn't the point. I want you to see what you've made. A protector who can't tell the difference between orders and evil. 125, a deadly dilemma. The golem, bound to the kid's reluctant command, moves with grim inevitability. It stoops, lifts a massive powder keg from the rooftop stockpile. Ivanov steps in, strikes a match, and touches it to the fuse. Cess. The fuse flares to life. There's no stopping it now. The golem turns, lumbers toward the edge of the roof. Below, the fuel tank waits like a loaded gun. Then, chaos explodes on the street. Screaming, shoving. People rush for the exits, but they're already sealed. A barricade of Packards and delivery trucks screeches into place, boxing in the crowd. Armed thugs close ranks, herding civilians like cattle between the burning warehouse and the ticking bomb. The golem halts. From the rooftop, it gazes down. Its blank, muddy face scans the chaos, the writhing bodies, the frightened children. It looks at the powder keg in its arms, then back at the crowd, then at the kid, barely visible through the smoke, his eyes locked on it. And then it chooses. With a roar of motion, the golem bolts forward and leaps. It soars past the fuel tank, past the crowd, the fuse trailing fire like a comet. For one impossible, weightless moment, the golem hangs in midair, fuse hissing, arms locked around the bomb, and then, crash. The river swallows them whole. A column of water explodes skyward. Then, silence. Only the fuse smoke lingers, curling above the black, rippling surface. No! The kid screams, voice breaking. Whomp. A muffled explosion detonates beneath the surface. A geyser of water shoots skyward, drenching the docks. As the spray settles, only a faint glowing shimmer remains beneath the ripples. The golem's hulking form drifts downward, deeper and deeper, until it disappears, sinking like a stone. Like the final image of the Terminator in T2. For a moment, no one moves. Then, people in the crowd start to exhale. Cheers begin to rise. Scattered, hesitant, then louder. Stronger. A wave of stunned gratitude for the monster who sacrificed itself, who leapt with fire in its arms to save them all. The kid stares at the water, stunned and heartbroken. Note, in that brief suspended beat, we feel the weight of the sacrifice. Pixar-style emotional moment. Wonder, sorrow, beauty. Then, noise snaps back. Fire. Screams. Footsteps. On the rooftop, Davidovich snaps. You tricked me. You ordered him to do that. He bellows, spittle flying. Eyes blazing, he storms toward the plank, ready to shove the kid off. Just as he reaches the edge, a voice freezes him. Don't! 126 Turner jumps into action. Davidovich turns. Agent Turner steps from the stairwell shadows. Davidovich lunges. A gunshot cracks. Turner staggers back, narrowly dodging the strike. The bullet ricochets. Taking advantage of the confusion, Miri drives her elbow into the goon restraining her, snatches his belt knife, and slices her ropes. In one fluid move, she's free. Without hesitation, she darts to her teammates, cutting their bindings with swift precision. Go, she urges. Turner gestures toward the stairwell. Down the bulkhead now. The freed teammates sprint for the exit, slipping past as Ivanov and the other goons surge forward. 127 chase. This way. Turner barks. The three bolt for the stairwell, slamming the access door to the bulkhead shut behind them. Bullets ping off the metal door. Behind them, Davidovich roars like a beast, firing wildly. "After them!" he screams. Ivanov rallies the crew. The thugs give chase, boots thundering down the stairs, echoes rattling through the building. The trio bursts onto the street. The chase then spills into the charred maze of dockside alleys. Turner, Miri, and the kids sprint at full tilt, breath ragged, hearts pounding. Behind them, Davidovich's goons surge forward, relentlessly. The neighborhood is still sealed tight, and Turner's agents can't break through the barricades, leaving the trio isolated, running for their lives with no backup in sight. 120 escaping in the crowd. They plunge into a dense crowd of people fleeing the flames and the chaos. For a moment, the crush of bodies offers a fleeting shield. Faces blur past, hands clutch, feet stampede. The confusion buys them precious seconds, allowing them to drop from sight. This way, Turner snaps, veering into what's left of the charred warehouse. Davidovich fires into the air. The crowd scatters. His men rush in, scanning frantically, but the trio has vanished. Turner, Miri, and the kid race through the smoldering husk of the warehouse and, rounding the unexploded massive fuel tank, reach the edge of the loading dock. Smoke coils around them. Sirens wail in the distance. They dart left toward the street but freeze when they see a new wave of thugs closing in from that side, cutting off the exit. Others follow the path they took through the warehouse. The trio vaults over the dock and drops into the skeletal remains of a half-charred tugboat, still moored to a piling. They crouch low in the shadows. Footsteps and angry voices echo close, then fade. "Let's hope my men find a way to get here soon," Turner mutters, eyes scanning the smoke. For a bit, only the faint crackle of dying fires and the distant wail of sirens can be heard. Miri crouches beside the kid, her voice low. "I'm sorry about your golem. It's terrible, but he saved so many people." The kid looks at her, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Thank you. I 128 discovered." Suddenly, heavy footsteps stomp closer. A shadow looms at the edge of the dock. Blinding beams of flashlights sweep across the wreckage, catching Turner, Miri, and the kid in their glare like cornered prey. Davidovich steps into view, his cruel smile sharp in the flickering. His voice cuts through the night. "This is the end of the road," he declares. His men fan out behind him, Tommy guns at the ready, surrounding the tugboat. Every path is blocked. The trio is trapped on the charred docks, nowhere left to run. The kid steps forward, voice trembling with anger but defiant. "Why are you still doing this?" He lifts his hand and points to the burning skeleton of the warehouse behind them. "You got what you wanted." Davidovich's smile hardens. "You think this was just about turf wars, hooch, and contraband?" He takes a step closer. "That warehouse was just a symptom. The disease is you, your people, always surviving, always rebuilding. I'm here to end that." The kid meets his gaze, steady now. "You're like Haman." Davidovich narrows his eyes. "What did you say?" "Who?" "Haman. From Esther." The kid's voice grows stronger. "My Abba says that he hated us so much he said the Jews were like a mound of dirt behind him, and the world, his perfect little world, had a hole in it. He thought, if I could just—" "Shove that dirt over here," the kid says, mimicking someone picking up dirt. "Into the hole over there. Now imitating someone moving and dropping dirt. Everything would be smooth." He takes another step forward. "You think we're the hole, what's wrong with the world, and if you get rid of us, everything will finally make sense." Davidovich laughs. Clap, clap, clap. "A plus, comrade student. Perfect answer." He raises his hand. "Men." His crew tighten their grip on their Tommy guns. 129. A mud octopus. Without warning, the dark river before them churns violently. Bubbles break the surface with a sick, gurgling sound. Then something enormous erupts from the water. A limb, or perhaps a tendril impossibly long, warped, and glistening with thick layers of river mud lashes out from the black depths. Its form is neither fully arm nor tentacle, more like a twisted mass of mud and sludge, moving with brutal intent. It coils around Davidovich's chest with terrifying speed. Before he can even react, the muddy force whips him up into the air with bone-breaking speed. Davidovich thrashes violently left to right, boots kicking at nothing, eyes bulging with animal terror. "No, no," he shrieks. The kid stares in horror. "Hashem Yishmor," he whispers. With a sudden, brutal jerk, the monstrous creature drags Davidovich back toward the surface of the river. His screams stretch into a strangled wail, rising in a high, off-the-charts pitch as he rapidly hurtles downward. Then, splash! The screams turn into muffled cries bubbling up from beneath the surface, finally twisting into a grotesque, distant, gurgling moan as the river water fills Davidovich's lungs. The sound curls the blood of everyone who hears it that night: Turner, the agents, Miri, even the hardened thugs, as if they were witnessing a soul being torn from the world, dragged screaming into Gehenna. For a moment, nothing. Silence, then, small ripples spread outward. They fade into the still black surface, and all at once, a deep groaning rumble rises from the depths, becoming louder, followed by a violent eruption. The river spits something out, flinging it into the air in a geyser of black water and muck. Davidovich's body rockets upward, limbs limp, clothes shredded, coated in slime. The river itself had tried to swallow him, then rejected him, too rotten even for its foul, smothering depths to digest. He crashes back down with a sickening splash. For a breathless moment, he doesn't move. Then, he sits up, slowly, unsteadily. His eyes are wide and vacant, jaw slack, lips twitching wordlessly. And then, something else stirs below. The water parts again as the golem begins to drag itself from the riverbed. What emerges is a grotesque shadow of what it once was, just part of a head, one mud-caked arm, and a portion of its torso, warped and half-dissolved, oozing river muck. Chunks of clay slough off with each strained, sodden movement, plopping into the water like meat falling off bone. The kid stares down, frozen, scared, and heartbroken. The golem tilts what's left of his head upward, one dim eye locking with the kid's. A crooked smile forms in the ruined mud. "I don't look too good, boss, do I?" he rasps. "Didn't mean to ruin your masterpiece." A ragged sound escapes the kid, half breath, half sob, as he struggles to steady himself. "You look like a hero who saved many lives." The shriek of sirens slices through the night. Red and blue lights flash across the smoldering wreckage. Agent Turner's men storm through the barricades in tight formation. Within seconds, they descend on the chaos, seizing the very diminished Davidovich, Ivanov, and the remaining thugs, shoving them to the ground and locking cold steel cuffs around their wrists. 130 rebuilding the golem. People from the surrounding streets emerge and come closer. Then more, all inch toward the riverbank where the broken golem rests. They surround the remains in a wide circle. In the center of it all, the kid kneels beside the ruined golem, his hands trembling as he touches the deformed shape. "Wake up!" His voice cracks. "You can't leave me." People exchange intense glances. He digs his hands into the wet mud, scooping it up and pressing it over the broken limbs. His small fingers smear it across the distorted tentacle, trying to reshape it into an arm. Miri steps forward. She drops to her knees without a word and begins helping, packing mud into the hollows. Butch, Connor, and Microbe join in. A man steps closer, kneels and adds a chunk of mud. A middle-aged woman imitates her, then an old man. Soon dozens of hands are working in silence, gathering mud from the river, carrying it in buckets, and scooping it with bare palms. The sunken chest is filled, the arms are rebuilt. The head is lifted and set back in place. Layer by layer, the golem's massive form is slowly restored. When the last gap is sealed, the crowd steps back, coated in mud, breathing heavy. They stand in a wide circle around the dark, glistening shape. For a moment, nothing moves. Then the golem's chest shifts. Slowly, it begins to rise. Mud sloughs off its shoulders in heavy clumps. The ground trembles as it plants its rebuilt hands into the earth and pushes itself upright. The silence shatters. Cheers erupt. Hands lift into the air. People beginning to clap. The golem stands motionless for a moment, steam rising from its damp form. 131 arrested. While Turner stands on the deck, a squad of federal agents clambers up the embankment, escorting a group of cuffed goons away. "You got him," Turner says Davidovich. "We've been trying to nail that son of a gun for months. What you two pulled off tonight." He scans the burning wreckage behind them. "You saved a lot of lives." He steps forward, looking down at the kid, bruised and soaked, and at the golem, looming beside him, still steaming in the night air. Turner sighs. "But I'm afraid you're both still wanted. Vandalism, property damage, public endangerment, hooliganism." He shakes his head. "We can't just let it slide. Law's the law." He clicks a pair of iron cuffs around the kid's wrists. Another agent approaches the golem. He hesitates, then clamps cuffs around two of his muddy fingers. The kid is then led to the paddy wagon, while the golem, too large to fit, is hoisted onto the flatbed of a waiting truck. Cut to the fading wail of sirens as the vehicles disappear into the night. 132. The People vs. Golem. The newsboy stands in front of the courthouse, waving a fresh stack of New York Chronicle papers. "Extra! Extra!" Mystery Mudman faces justice. The front page shows a grainy photo of the golem in an oversized striped prison garb and wearing cuffs, towering over a row of officers, entering the courtroom. The headline reads, "Trial of the Century Begins." The trial has been going on for days. Testimony blurs into testimony. Legal jargon fills the air like fog. The kid sits stiff in his borrowed suit, hands folded. The golem looms beside him, motionless, his chair groaning under his weight. A bailiff eyes him like he might explode at any second. The prosecutor rises. "Your Honor, this creature terrified citizens, destroyed public property, and may I remind you, through this poor man." He gestures toward Captain Swell in the gallery, into the Hudson River. "Objection, Your Honor," says the defense attorney, rising, argumentative. "It's Captain Swell who asked my client to be the bad guy." "Sustained," the judge replies, pinching the bridge of his nose. From the gallery, a voice cuts through in Yiddish-tinged English. It comes from a row of three bubbies in floral hats, knitting without missing a beat. "He's not a monster," one of them scoffs. "He's just large-boned, Nebach, like Zalman, my son-in-law." The courtroom erupts in laughter. The judge bangs his gavel, glaring. One more outburst and I clear this room. When calm returns, testimony begins. A nervous client from the kosher butcher shop takes the stand first. "I understand he came in looking for purpose," she says, "but he left with half my brisket." A steelworker steps up next, gripping the rail of the witness box like it's a girder suspended over the city. "I now suffer from crippling PTSD. Every time I close my eyes, I see him up there, tipping the high beam we were sitting on." Then comes an exhausted insurance adjuster, his eyes red with fatigue, his arms burdened by thick ledger books. "Do you know how many claims I filed under miscellaneous mud to related damage?" By this point, things are looking grim for the kid and the golem. The prosecution rests, and the weight of their testimony hangs heavy in the room. But then, something shifts. The defense calls its own witnesses, and the courtroom door opens like the turn of a tide. An army begins to assemble. The Maverick Mitts baseball gang shows up first, decked out in vintage jackets and wide grins. "He was our best slugger ever," says their captain. "Sure, he broke all our bats, but we loved him." From the gallery, one of the knitting bubbies dabs her eyes. "He should play for the Yankees." Next, a firefighter with a bandaged arm tells how the golem shielded his crew from falling debris. A bus driver recalls the muddy figure lifting a school bus off a stalled track. A crossing guard shares how he once stopped traffic, gently holding up cars with one hand so children could cross safely. Captain Swell appears again, rising sheepishly. "I'd like to say something," he begins. "If he asks for Mekillah on Yom Kippur, I'll forgive him." One of the bubbies eyes him suspiciously. "Weren't you a witness for the prosecution a minute ago?" He shrugs. "I'm flexible." Finally, Turner steps forward, carrying a muddy, sealed folder stamped Davidovich. "We've recovered assets from a certain ex-Soviet war criminal's offshore accounts," he says. He drops the file on the judge's bench. It lands with a wet thwack. The judge flips it open and sighs, his gavel resting wearily in his palm. Very well. Damages will be paid from this fund. As for the defendants, the kid holds his breath. The golem blinks once. I sentence you both to parole, with conditions, the judge says. The courtroom doors open again. Agent Turner steps in, holding a fresh case file. You'll report weekly to your new parole officer, the judge continues. Turner nods. There are too many cold cases in this city, strange ones. I need help from people who understand the weird. He turns to the golem and the kid. Welcome to the team, boys. For a moment, silence. Then one of the bubbies rises to her feet, clapping slowly. Another joins. Then the whole courtroom stands. Applause breaks out, loud, defiant, jubilant. A bailiff tries to quiet them, but it's no use. The courtroom explodes in cheers. The golem looks around, confused. The kid grins up at him. For the first time since arriving in this country, they are not fugitives. They're heroes. 133 triumph. The courthouse doors swing open. Sunlight floods the marble steps as the kid and the golem step out and are met by an eruption of cheers. The crowd spills into the street, swelling like a tide. Kids hoisted onto shoulders. Homemade signs waving in both Yiddish and English, from mud to mensch. Golem, Tikkun Olam starts here. Drummers pound a klezmer beat. A man in a Statue of Liberty hat blows a shofar. Confetti, newspaper clippings and torn yeshiva flyers, rains from a nearby fire escape. The newsboy from earlier darts between ankles and strollers, waving a fresh edition overhead. Extra, extra. Court sets Golem loose to fix America. From behind him, the crowd parts. The kid's parents approach, eyes full of tears and pride. His siblings run up and wrap their arms around them. The maverick mitts arrive next, tossing a baseball back and forth. We saved your spot in the lineup, Butch says. The eccentric superheroes from earlier, joined by Lady Locks and the Shazanator, give subtle, approving nods. The hobos are here too. Fish lifts his dented tin can in salute. And then, astonishingly, from the back of the crowd, Ivanov, in a new suit. He walks forward slowly and extends a hand. The kid hesitates, then shakes it. Ivanov turns to the golem and bows slightly. Finally, the three knitting bubbies push through the crowd, holding something high. A handmade cape, thick, woolen, with rows of cabling and care stitched into every inch.